You're publishing something vulnerable, whether it be an article or a Facebook post or a full-blown memoir. You're reconciling this idea of being a deeply private person and publicly sharing something that you, at one point in time, never would have shared publicly. Hello, my name is Stephanie Thoma, and I'm the author of the memoir, Not That Sweet, behind me, and I have been here. So I want to share with you the three things that I had to get really clear within myself before I shared the contents of my memoir as a memoir and reconciling this identity and being someone who really holds different relationships and their emotional experience sacred and who typically is very discerning around who I share my stories with, and how I knew that it was the best, most aligned next step for me in my life to publish the thing. The first thing to be aware of is if you know in your heart of hearts that it's as healed as it's going to be. So, to clarify this, let's say that there's a lot of healing work that you've done in terms of reconciling events that occurred, or certain relationships ending, or even being carried out in certain ways where for so long you wish it was different. This isn't about releasing it to heal it. There needs to be a sense of inner knowing that you have worked on it. Maybe you've gone to therapy, maybe there's been a bunch of narrative therapy. Part of my journey was speaking about some of the things that I used to think were unspeakable to close friends, one-on-one, over a period of years, and gaining a sense of trust in myself to actually tell the story in a way that could be therapeutic for other people because it was therapeutic for me. The second ties in with that quite well. The second is to focus on not necessarily being understood, but helping others understand themselves and their experience better. The way that I like to write is not necessarily my present self reflecting on the past. I like to be really there with my character and have a healthy sense of detachment as I go through journal entries and maybe emails and really get clear on, oh, yeah, that's how I was feeling. That's how she is feeling, the character in the story that I'm about to share. And it's not about sharing it so other people can say, oh, yeah, that was a bad thing that happened, or oh, you acted in the right way. Or even the opposite, to be like, ooh, yeah, I don't approve of how you handle that situation. It's really suspending judgment of yourself to the point where even if other people did judge positively or negatively, you were unconcerned and unmoved. Knowing that many people may read your story and have a judgment in either direction, maybe you really touched them, maybe someone that you've never met on the outer edges of your social circles heard about this article, heard about this post, heard about this book, and read it, and had a profound experience of connection with your story that allowed them to release an element or a layer of shame. And they may never reach out to you to tell you. They may never leave a public review, but that just gets to be a part of the energy when you release something and how it becomes something that other people experience through their own lens. And maybe some people reading it can understand a person that your character represents if this is autobiographical in their own life. You could be articulating something in a way that someone in that situation wouldn't know how to put words to. It's really not about getting caught up in the singularity of your own life experience. This has the potential to be a gift for the collective. And if you remain focused on contributing to the collective stories that we all have, then that's where this third one comes in, knowing that your mission and your message is so much bigger than yourself, and that your art is your contribution to a broader discussion. This is when you get to think of yourself as a tiny speck on the planet that you are and realize that while it is brave in the context of your own life, and the immediacy of being alive right now and present on this planet. In the scheme of things, it's not that it doesn't matter, and it's not that it's insignificant. You could be in the first wave of sort of being brave and saying, okay, this is something that I've experienced emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever. Here it is. And you could feel called to be a leader where you don't see many other people modeling it, but you know that you need to go first, or you could fall into more of a second wave. And I know that I identify as being a little bit more of a second wave, and it's all relative, isn't it? But different books coming out from different people that have different aspects of my life experience, like Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, they each presented in a certain way, were judged in certain ways, and then you're able to read or even listen to the audiobook of their stories and identify, oh yeah, I know exactly what they mean. I experienced something similar. And it's not about getting caught up in the story. It's about understanding not the transcendence even, but the transmutation of the charge that can keep you stuck or keep you from moving forward. And I know that for many of us, myself included, there can be a more shallow way that we can move forward, where let's say you don't necessarily need to even share your story, but if you don't write it out and get it clear for yourself, you can still do great things. However, you may have in the background this thought process of something like, ooh, but this thing about me is so bad, and I really need to hide this, versus the liberation that comes with knowing the truth that it was never bad, and maybe it was never even about you, and how you get to define yourself. So if you are also in this second wave of storytelling and adding and contributing to conversations about what could potentially stand to change in society, it can be less about fighting for all of this social change and more about a combination of leading by example and sharing your truth. And over time, as more and more people do this, it becomes the collective truth. What was once shameful comes to the surface, and we realize that these roles of victims and villains and perpetrators and all of these things, sometimes they're mismatched. And sometimes that's not even what it is at all. Everyone is trying to find connection and ideally be loving and to be met and seen fully. And it's an imperfect process. And by us sharing pieces of our stories, we have the potential to collectively shed shame together and invite in a greater sense of authenticity and a greater knowing of the innate goodness that is in everyone. So I encourage you, go ahead and write that thing down. Or go ahead and revisit that draft. You don't need to publish it now. Maybe you never need to publish it. It's not really about that. I really think it's about the creation of it. And then there comes a time when you just know, where you sit in meditation, you ask yourself, let me know when it's time. And you know, believe me, you will get a sign, you will get a feeling like I did, and you release the hold on the story, and the story releases its hold on you. And it's a next level freedom. Wishing you a beautifully free day. Until next time.